It's 9 o'clock. This is Sunrise. Our top story, a humanitarian crisis which looks like ethnic cleansing. The Prime Minister. Good morning. You're watching Sunrise here on Sky News. I'm Sarah Jane Mee. We start with the Prime Minister's response to our exclusive report on the persecution of Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, with Theresa May calling it a humanitarian crisis which looks like ethnic cleansing. Yesterday, our special correspondent Alex Crawford reported on the plight of thousands of Rohingya who were trapped on a beach in Myanmar and effectively left there to die. Well, it was the first independently filmed evidence of atrocities against the Rohingya, with Theresa May last night calling on the Burmese authorities to take responsibility for the crisis. A warning that this report from our political editor Faisal Islam contains some flash photography. Sky News has found that a record number of children are at risk of abuse or neglect in England. Serious child protection cases, known as Section 47s, have doubled in the last 7 years. And shockingly, there are 500 new cases opened every day. Jason Farrell has this report from Blackpool. Well, responding to Jason's report, the Minister for Children and Families, Robert Goodwill, said the government is driving forward improvements across every area of the child protection system. This is his statement to us here at Sky. Jonathan is here now. Key Brexit legislation is returning to Parliament today. That follows the announcement yesterday of a significant concession to Tory rebels.
Yes, that's right, Sarah Jane. Brexit Secretary David Davis.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. Let's take a look at the front pages of Tuesday's newspapers now. I'll start with the... Now, our next guest here in the studio, Ji-Yeon Park, has an incredible story to tell about her life on the Korean Peninsula. She defected from North Korea twice and spent time enslaved in China. And now she's written a book about her experience with the South Korean author E.J. Robinson, who is also here with us, about the plight of the North Korean ladies. Thank you very much for coming in to see us. Ji, you have a very interesting story to tell. It's hard to sum it up in just one short interview. You've written an entire book about it. Tell us about defecting from North Korea and what that was like.
Inside North Korea. Yeah.
And obviously, Western eyes are not allowed inside North Korea, so we are very reliant on people that have come out of North Korea like you to tell us the stories of the atrocities that go on in there. How did you escape from North Korea? I mean, you defected twice. You were sent back, weren't you, after being in China? So how did you make your escape, as it were?
First, I was escaped in 1990.
You can't even begin to imagine what you've been through. And how eventually did you, as you said, you defected once, were in China, then sent back, defected again, and now you are out. What do you want people to learn from this book?
My book is to learn people's daily life.
But in the book, I mean, Ji-Yeon's story is mind-boggling in terms of we don't really know what goes on inside North Korea. We rely on the brave people in the book, and obviously Ji-Yeon's story is one that's replicated by millions.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So we are writing this book.
And the book isn't out yet. When can we...
It's not finished.
Ji-Yeon, thank you very much for coming in to tell your story. Thank you. Thank you. Stay with us here on Sunrise. On the way after the break, we'll have the latest sport headlines with Jackie. Well, much excitement during the break because the inflation figures for October are out. Our economics editor, Ed Conway, is here. He had them. We had a few Wi-Fi issues, but you've got them.
Got them now, 3%, which is actually the same.
Now, the Prime Minister's response to our exclusive report on the persecution of Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. Theresa May called it a humanitarian crisis which looks like ethnic cleansing, on the plight of thousands of Rohingya trapped on a beach in Myanmar and effectively left there to die. It was the first independently filmed evidence of atrocities against the Rohingya, with Theresa May last night calling on the Burmese authorities to take full responsibility for the crisis. Just to warn you that this report coming up from our political editor Faisal Islam contains flash photography. Well, let's speak now to Sky correspondent Ashish Joshi, who is in the Bangladeshi city of Cox's Bazar for us this morning. And Ashish, watching your reporting over the last 24 hours, there's been a lot of response from government, from viewers. What's the situation there this morning? Thank you, Jonathan. Now, the Church of England has issued new guidelines on how children explore their gender, aiming to end transgender bullying in schools. It advises that a child may choose the tutu, princess's tiara and heels, or the fireman's helmet, tool belt and superhero cloak without expectation or comment. Well, Mika Minio-Palwello about this. Good morning. Now, everybody saw these headlines yesterday and there was a huge outcry on both sides of this argument. I just wonder what you make of it, because some people are reading it as in, just let kids be kids, let them choose whatever they want to do. Other people are reading it and say this is political correctness gone mad.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of things going on.
It's interesting, Mika, because another one of the big headlines yesterday was about gender fluidity lessons in schools and some suggestion that children explore that. And when you do speak to transgender people, you do hear that sometimes at the age of, say, 2, 3, 4, they knew that if they were spoken to as a boy, they would go, no, girl. Yeah. So do you know as young as that, or can it be confusing? Because that has been the argument against that particular story.
So I think it's different for everyone.
Out and being too open about trying different things actually can confuse some children where there was no confusion there in the first place. That has been an argument made over the last few days.
Yeah, but I don't buy it, because obviously if you tell a kid you have to wear a tiara, well, that would be a bit weird. You shouldn't force it. And that's totally...
who's in charge.
Precisely. That's totally fine. We shouldn't assume that once...
Thank you very much for coming to talk to us about that. It's a conversation I know that will rumble on. We look forward to exploring it more. In the meantime, we are going to cross to Adam. He has All Out Politics for you. That is coming up at 10 o'clock. Still to come here on Sunrise, how do we keep our humanity? Now, this is going to be interesting. My next guest is known as the father of virtual reality, Jaron Lanier, a pioneer who is now highly critical of the world that he helped to create, has a book out. It's a blend of autobiography, science, philosophy and advice, ultimately asking what it means to be human at a time of technological transformation. Well, let's speak to Jaron now. He's in our central London studio. Good morning to you.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Now, this sounds a little bit like the horse that bolted. You invented virtual reality, and now there is a suggestion it might have got a bit out of control?
Well, virtual reality had many inventors, first of all. And secondly, it's in a way not born yet. It's still a very early technology.
Think about virtual reality. You think of headsets and people going like that, and they're in their own world and only they can see it. Is that too narrow a view, pardon the pun, of virtual reality?
Well, I mean, that is the most typical form. And actually, unlike some of...
Headsets, OK, I don't so much.
I do.
Messes up my hair. I'll go for a smaller slimline glasses any day.
This is your problem, not my problem.
Quite right, we all have our own problems. But we often think about virtual reality in terms of gaming and, like I said, that virtual world, that fun experience. But it has actually been used for very serious issues in terms of exploring the function of the brain for medical research. And I know that a lot of army medics use it as well. So it's not just about gaming and fun, is it?
No, in fact, the greatest honor of my life was to be able to co-create the...
Has come across it in some form or another. But in this book, you're talking about, in order to preserve humanity, you need to double down on being human. Just before we go, explain to us what you mean by that.
Well, to me, virtual reality is...
All day about virtual reality and the future of humanity. But I guess that's why you've got a book out, right?
And we'll come up with some sort of headset that doesn't mess your hair. I promise it'll happen.
Jaron Lanier, father of virtual reality, thank you very much for speaking to us here on Sky News Sunrise. Coming up next, Adam has All Out Politics.